Good afternoon, ladies and gents. My name is Andrew Walker from the SA Property Investors Network, and I'm super excited because I'm here with Paresh, who I've known for a number of years, and some awesome judges. And today we're going to be judging for the Investor of the Year 2024. Now, if you don't know Investor of the Year, this is the fourth time that we're running it. We ran it in 2018, 2019, 2021, and it's coming up on the 14th of September this year in Johannesburg. And it's proudly sponsored by Absa Bank Home Loans, Tough Former Stanley, BSA Attorneys, Intergen, and a few other sponsors. And I'm here live in Umhlanga at the Absa Bank Home Loan offices, which is super exciting. And we're searching up for a nice lunch afterwards, won't we, Bruno? Definitely. So this is all about the vision of the SA of the Investor of the Year. It's about recognizing ordinary South Africans in South Africa taking action, doing deals. And that's a hope for everyone. So if you're out there, you've done a deal, it doesn't matter if it's your very first property deal, or perhaps you've done 4 or 5, or perhaps you're big leagues and you do developments and commercial. There is a home for everyone. As you can see behind me, there will be the overall Investor of the Year winner. They will be winning two nights away in the Pietersburg, sponsored by Legacy Hotels. They'll also win 20,000 Rand cash, which is awesome. And there's a whole range of other prizes like iPads and men's watches and all of that, which is awesome. So today, Paresh is going to be entering its either beginner, intermediate, or big league. So we'll see how that looks. And then from there, Paresh, depending on your deal, we will automatically place you into match 2 other categories. Maybe innovative, maybe in a city, it depends on your deal. And what will happen if Paresh makes it through, Paresh will come back with a formal presentation. And if Paresh then makes it through that round, we'll see you live on the 9th, which is awesome. So I think let's get into it, ladies and gents. And please in the comments, if you have any questions. If you have any questions for Paresh, please ask it. But let's go to our judges and our sponsors for Investor of the Year. So judges, can you please introduce yourself?
So my name is Bruno Simel. I'm from BSA Law and Intergen, and I'm one of the judges for Ioty.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Serena Rampasad. I'm a portfolio manager with Tough, and I'm here to judge Paresh's deal.
Hi, I'm Bevan Thomas from SAP and Prepaid. I'm also here to judge and make sure that we're getting the best out of the Investor of the Year awards.
Awesome. There we go. Thanks, guys. So this will be about 15, 20 minutes. It's going to be conversational, Paresh. But I think let's start off by you just introducing yourself, what's your background, and then we'll get into the deal.
Sure. Thank you to the whole team, SAP team, and especially to you, Andrew. So a little bit of background from my side. I've been in corporate for a number of years in travel, which was my previous passion. And I got retrenched in COVID. But luckily, my better half got me interested in property previously. So we did a whole lot of courses studying property, 7 courses, online courses. And a year before the retrenchment, we opened up a property company. And so the journey began at that point. And thankfully, I had property to fall back on.
Yes.
When I got retrenched. So that became my new life,
Okay.
working life. So it all started from very humble beginnings. We started with our own capital and bought a apartment and then the deal that I'm going to speak about
Okay.
now. So yeah, we've come a long way. You know, I think property is something that is you never stop learning.
Yeah.
You know, the journey is just a continuous ebb and flow.
Always.
And I think I'm sure you'll agree with me with your experience as well.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's great to be
And
here.
are you full-time with property now?
I'm full-time in property.
Okay.
My wife and I are both in the business together full-time.
Okay.
And it's my passion. Love it.
Yeah, which is awesome, mate. Every day is different.
Yes.
So then tell us about the deal. So initially I want to know, what was your strategy and why is that your strategy? Did you go into the instance and find the deal? Did you look at 100 deals? How did you find the deal?
Sure. So when we created our company and learned from the different courses, we had decided that our strategy would be on a buy-to-let basis. And we focused on that side of the market. And we wanted to be on the end that is affordable,
Yeah.
and create value for our potential tenants.
Yeah.
And so we started doing some research into the market. And this deal that we looked at specifically, we wanted to create a commune. So working class females living in a commune space, renting the room, and that's where we went. To.
So renting the room, but sharing the kitchen, sharing the bathroom.
Absolutely, yeah. So multi-tenanted strategy, that is what we followed. So we were looking for the right property. We looked through the major places, Property 24, the online sites, the auction sites as well.
Okay.
We did a lot of that. Gumtree.
Yeah.
And especially Gumtree with owner selling.
Yes.
Not by the
So we're going straight to the seller in that case.
Yeah, which is where we picked up our first deal from. But this particular deal we had picked up via agents.
Okay.
So we started networking with agents, letting them know what we were in for and what we were specifically looking for.
Yeah.
And over time, this particular deal came through. We've seen multiple of properties before that. But this particular property was something that caught our eye because it was a double plot and had two entrances on two sides of two roads. And it was placed right next to the police station, which from a safety aspect, as we know, is always a good cluster.
And which area was it in?
This was in Ambilo. Ambilo, Glenwood, that's the sector we
You'll know better than us where that is.
Yep, definitely.
Okay. And what was the asking price at that time?
So the asking price was, I think, 1.5 million, and we negotiated the owner down to 1.25.
Okay. So 1.5 to 1.25. And how did you negotiate? What is your secret sauce?
So, my approach is always dealing with people, understanding what makes them tick. This particular seller was an elderly 90-year-old wanting to emigrate to live with her sister in Ireland. And she basically wanted to have a fair deal. And we proposed this offer after doing our due diligence. So we had to obviously renovate to what our style of commune was, and took all of that into account and put it together, which they thankfully accepted.
Yeah.
And what happened was we went to the banks and we said, okay, we want to have this deal and this is the price we're paying for it. And they gladly gave us the bond. We were putting down 10%. But they also valued the property at a far higher value, which came to a bit of a surprise. So I think at the end of the day, a lot of the courses will tell us that you make your money when you buy.
Yeah.
So I think that's we focus on that, and it worked out well in this particular case.
So you pay 1.25. Obviously, you've got transfer duty, transfer fees, bond returning fees.
Yeah.
What was the cost of the renovation, and how long was the renovation?
So the renovation took about 2 months, and the total cost of that renovation was just over 100K.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 1.25 plus the 100 is 1.350 plus your buying cost is probably about 70 grand around there, I'd imagine.
About that much, yeah.
Yeah. So 1.350, so 1.420.
What did the bank value that?
So when we asked for the insurance value, and the banks came and they valued the property at that stage, it was just over 1.9 million pounds. Because it was a double plot and it was located in a nice neighborhood.
So when we say double plot, two separate pieces of land or one?
So it was one ERF.
Yeah.
About just under 800 square meters, but it had a large house, large home, and it had a granny flat. And our strategy was to demolish the granny flat and put up a larger home in its place.
And then from a building plan perspective, everything was in order when you did your due diligence.
Yeah, everything was in order when we did the initial due diligence. What we kind of didn't expect, which was a curveball for us, a learning curve, was they were part of the what do you call it, MAFA regulations. So that particular prop fell under MAFA, which we learned later on. And we had to go through that process first before getting the new building plans passed. So that took a bit longer, but nevertheless, we found it.
So how many units in your, so is it a house that you've converted internally and built another house at the back? Or?
Correct. So it was one large home, which we converted to meet our spec. And then we built an additional home, which with more rooms. Yeah.
Okay, so how many rooms in each?
So the initial house had initially had about 4 bedrooms and 2 lounges, and we then converted it into 8 rooms.
And
So we've got 8 rooms there, and then another 8 rooms in the new home that we built. The new home was specifically designed for en-suite rooms.
Yeah.
So we wanted to have a space where to be priced a little bit on the upper end of the room rental market,
Yeah.
and create a really good product that offered good value for money. Yeah.
And tell me, when you financed that house, which bank was it?
So we were clients of Standard Bank, and so we remained in that fold.
What's this one?
Standard Bank is
Okay.
the bank that our finances. But you know, I think as investors, we do need to be flexible, and not just have that mindset that one bank is your
Yeah.
is your
It's
is your
where
go-to
you
bank.
get the best finance.
It's actually about shopping around. It's about negotiating for the best deal.
100%.
But I think we're pretty happy with where we are.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
And your target market, you said, was females in the affordable space.
Correct. Yeah.
Is that still the case, and why that target?
So we wanted to find a commune that attracted fairly medium to long-term tenants. And in the room rental space, there's a lot of movement that happens. Tenants sometimes don't stay for long periods of time. So we wanted to create a space where we offered value for money by offering value adds, and specifically targeting female working class people. So that's kind of worked for us, but it evolved to that stage. So initially, we just kind of wanted to fill the house and get the tenants in. But as we managed our house rules better, we found that was a better fit for us.
Because I actually wanted to ask you about that. We've had instances of accommodation that's designed for females, and the actual management of the space becomes very difficult because aside from boyfriends and husbands, which now sometimes pose a threat to other females in the commune, you have children, elderly children, so children like 16 towards 18, bringing friends over. So it becomes very difficult to manage the concept of female only, and creating that safe environment for females when the reality is there's females often come with males, and that it creates a level of discomfort sometimes for females that went specifically for that space because they wanted to get away from any threat or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So how do you manage that using using the house rules, and how do you enforce it?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and you're quite right, because in the market there's a wide spectrum of different needs, and of course we can't suit everyone's needs. We try to get a good mix for us that works for everyone in the commune. So what works for us is central to our house rules is trust and respect. And that comes both ways. Trust is earned. You know, we as landlords have to earn the trust first from your tenants, and that's something that I feel that works. Getting back to what you've asked, our house rules are designed for respect for tenants, fellow tenants, neighbors, and your property as a whole. So what we found is that the mix, the tenants that we had expected some type of safe haven in the commune. Didn't want to have other males in that space. So from the very early days, we said, okay, males visiting can visit during the day, but at night, it's a little bit of challenge. We want to respect and make sure that everyone's space is respected. And so that continued. And we at a stage at the moment where it kind of works for us. People actually want, well, our sector of the market specifically, they prefer that. They want to be in the females only play space, and they're happy with that. So it kind of works for us.
Sorry, to disrupt you. Where do you advertise? How do you market and engage your tenants there?
So advertising has evolved from Gumtree in the earlier days to other online platforms, and also to like word of mouth. Facebook is quite a big part of our advertising. But what happens with Facebook is you have a whole lot of adverts in there, and then you've got to sift through what type of tenant meets the criteria that works with the commune. And that's important because for us, it's not just getting a tenant to fill the space. It's also making sure that that tenant is happy in that commune, so that there is a continuation of, medium to long-term stays. And we find that works because a lot of our tenants stay on.
And how do you get there?
So there's different ways. Of course, the normal procedure is to make sure that the banks, they are working so that, what we spoke about yesterday, that and that was a great event.
Yeah, it's good.
It was just awesome to be with similar-minded people. But so coming back to what you asked, vetting is a process. We ask for 3-month bank statements. We verify that the salary meets the bank statements and all the financial, part of it is all ticked up. We don't go to the extent of looking at TPN reports for a room that is going to cost, the rentals are average about 3,000 to 4,000 rents. So on the entry-level rooms, we don't really go to that extent.
Isn't that a bit of a risk, bearing in mind like credit history, ability to have paid rent with previous landlords, and obviously the reporting function in TPN?
So excellent question. So the risk is kind of majorly taken into account with deposits. So we get a 1-month deposit from the tenants, which most of the time they can afford to pay over 2 or 3 months. So it's stepped, it's kind of phased in. And then we look at the kind of lifestyle aspects. And we go to the house rules, and we ensure that it's a good fit.
So it's really nice that you got it to work, because obviously from my side, I would perceive certain risks with, for example, the history of the tenant, or not having the history of the tenant, purely controlling it just on the bank statement as a verification method. And then obviously, because with TPN it gives you that history, at least you know, the experience that previous landlords have had with the specific tenant, which now you don't have the luxury of having that data. And obviously the other risk being that with the number of people staying and the fact that they consider it a safe haven, how do you control this person if this person does default, especially if you staggering deposits, which from the outset I wouldn't normally recommend, but even if you are doing that, what happens if the person simply doesn't pay? How do you manage them? How do you handle that loss?
Yeah. So what we found in the earlier days, especially when we first started, was TPN didn't have too much of data on room rentals. Someone renting a room is not necessarily going to be in the TPN space. It's a very different segment of the market. So you really have to make a judgment call. And there's no real risk-free approach to it. Of course, we're in business, and of course, you make sure that it works for both parties. Thankfully, it's with our experience, we've had virtually 100% occupancies and virtually 100% collections. But that's not to say that you wouldn't get that one tenant that's going to have that type of situation. But I think it's much more interactive than that. Because, and I was thinking of it last night when we were talking about this aspect of evictions with the group. And there's a lot of steps that goes before that in my mind. So as a landlord, what we try to do and what works for us is that you be the best landlord that you can and hands-on. So if there's a problem, you resolve it. Our policy is it's a resolve same day.
Yeah.
So just to give an example, we've had, as I was driving to the events last night, get a WhatsApp that the washing lines had fallen down. And so within the hour, we got that fixed with our guy that's nearby and gets killed. That's all wrong. But that's hands-on. When you have that 24-hour commitment, that when you resolve something that's not working, your tenant knows that, you know what, this person I can trust. And you get that a lot back, it comes back in various ways, including payments on time. But we don't only rely on just trust and honesty. Of course, there's a set of house rules. So your house rules is basically your Bible. And in that house rules, we've learned over time to add in things that would make sure that commune is a place where it's livable and it's a place that makes it work for all parties that are involved. So, for example, if the tenant doesn't pay the rental on the first or the third of the month, then there's a late payment fee that gets enforced. But then it's just not just the fee. You interact with the person and say, "Oh, you're out of time here. You need to send me your proof of payment today." Most of the time, it's the same. So it's a relationship. It's not just a given that you.
Is this pre-COVID or post-COVID?
This is definitely post-COVID.
That's
Yeah.
my next question. How long have you been operating for?
So we started just around COVID time. We started at COVID time. We just started, and then it was the lockdown.
Yeah.
So what happened was we had I think 3 or 4 tenants in there, which basically made sure that the place was okay. We weren't running at any financial loss, and we kept it going through a COVID
And your tenants
lockdown
paid?
through that. We didn't have any issues with that. We did have issues of slightly later payments, but we worked with payment plans during that time.
Okay, so while we're on property management, I can hear that you self-manage your properties, right?
Oh yeah.
So when did you start your new the extra house that you built at the back, when was that done?
So that was completed a year ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been just over a year now that we're running the new house.
Okay, and so is that also fully tenanted?
Oh yeah, we were tenanted from the first month. In fact, I was a bit nervous about pricing because we were right on the top end of the room rental rates for that type of space. But I was actually we were quite surprised that the take-up was so fantastic.
So how is that transition from 8 tenants now to 16? And what happens, because you're self-managing, what happens when you grow bigger? Because obviously that's your trajectory and that's your path.
Yeah.
Do you continue self-managing? Do you have someone on site to assist you? Your maintenance caretaker, how do you envisage your change as you grow?
Yeah, so it's all about the team, right? It's you leverage with people. We talked about people yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's although I'm physically doing the admin part of it and the background before that, but on the ground, yeah, we have a housekeeper that does the cleaning service, and she's our ears and the eyes in the ground. And the housekeeper is also someone that I rely on. She adds value because there's not a lot of places where you can get a cleaning service for 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So it's all these little extras. Like we have unlimited Wi-Fi. We have rent. The rental includes water and electricity that is capped to certain amounts. And these inclusions are the value adds that we find that it adds value to our tenants, and that's what makes them stay longer as well.
So when you say capped at certain amounts, the rent includes water and electricity.
Correct.
And,
Yeah.
and what do you mean by capping?
So of course it's not unlimited because then I've got to watch my expenses side.
Yeah.
So for example, we have a limit on what the water usage is. And then we buy the water and we put in
So per room or?
per house, per home, per person. But it's for the home, the 1 water meter for the house.
So you monitor it constantly.
It's done on a monthly basis, so that's kind of works. And then when that water is completed, then we top up, and balance of that top up is split between the tenants.
So what's your rentals like for so you're starting, you said was and your high rental?
So our in-street rent is 900 rents,
That's including lights and water.
which includes lights and water.
Okay.
But we're finding that it's getting a bit it's a fine balance because lights and water has gone up so much over the last couple of years.
And
We've had increases in those two expenses of in the region of 15 to 20% a year.
No, it's
So
hard.
the dynamics of that have changed. And of course we've invested in solar. Solar is something that is an investment for the long term, but also it balances that electricity amount that
So what percentage of your rental goes towards utilities?
it would depend on the room size. But if I can guesstimate about 600 rents worth of per person of that goes to utilities. Yeah.
And so, I mean, generally for the whole property, estimate, what's your income?
So from an income basis, we get for the both houses together, it's in the region of 75K,
And your expenses?
about 40. It depends because sometimes there's more renovations and repairs.
Yeah.
You can't
Maintenance.
really put that to a
And maintenance?
actual thing.
Generally per month, what would your maintenance
It's,
bill be?
that's hard to say because 1 month will be nothing. The next month
Yeah.
You know, we could have a room needing painting. We could have, different things.
And
So we budget for 5%, which is what I think is generally
No, I think 5 to 15%. It depends if it's
Yeah.
old house, new house.
yeah, sure.
But I still think it's good. So you're getting plus minus 75,000. Your expenses lie plus minus 30, depending on maintenance and refurbs and stuff. You self-manage, so you're making a good profit there.
Yeah, I think we've been pretty lucky so far. We've been fortunate. And the next phase is to think about growth because there's only so much energy that you can do self-managing.
Yeah.
And then it's a whole different mindset to break that self and then take that next level. So that's where we are at the moment.
Just scouting for new properties.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
so just a quick question, sorry.
No, go for it.
Your house that you built at the back, how much did that cost?
So that was about 1.5.
And you used a turnkey solution with a contractor, or did you self develop?
So we had one contractor that handled the entire project. And we did a lot of research about getting the right person for that particular project. Because it was our first project, and because we wanted basically someone we could trust. So that we came to a stage with this particular builder that it was seamless, absolutely seamless.
And fully furnished, finishes, granite tops, melamine cupboards.
So the furnishings was something that we obviously put in after it was built. So we've got our preferred furniture places that we go to get good reliable furniture at the right price that is better than this market expects.
Oh, so it comes.
So at every stage what we try to do is look at where can we do better, where can we provide value, because we're not just looking at this from a short-term perspective. We always think of it.
The 1.5 include like the building plan submissions and properties zoned accordingly.
Correct.
What's the zoning on the property?
So we got, I've had to have a look at my records for that, but it's zoned for the use of.
Bevan, anything from your side? You're quiet there, and then we'll start wrapping up because we are.
So all the good questions are getting asked, and so I'm glad Serena's gone through the second phase. So you've basically done this project in two phases. So the initial phase was just the small renovation on the main house, which was brilliant. That's where you spoke to the 100,000 renovation cost, and that's helped you with the holding costs. You've stabilized the property, stabilized the whole strategy. So I really do love how you've started this journey. You've gone from the education being the foundation of everything, and Andrew and I have both had a long relationship with you, and we've watched this journey of the education stuff. So you've de-risked everything as you've built to this project coming live.
Yeah.
So I followed that quite nicely. And then even in the de-risking, you focused on a strategy. And so your strategy here has been the commune. You started with different strategies on the commune, but you've narrowed it down to the women commune being the ideal. So I like how you've de-risked that quite nicely. And then so that first phase is stabilized. Second phase you've now done. You've had the experience on the property, area experience. So that talk to me about the decision point where you were deciding either we stay as is and we don't go and spend. I mean, 1.5 isn't a small amount. So to commit to that next development stage, a lot of investors go, well, let me just keep it as is. I know this beast already.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that decision to then commit to phase two.
Sure. Before I get to that, I think it's important to understand that the knowledge-based journey starts before you start opening up the business or the entity. And we've been linked with Saturn for a number of years.
6 years,
Um,
maybe. 2018.
Probably, yes. And we did a lot of courses. We've done every online course we could get our hands on. We attended the physical courses, and I must say we're so grateful to Saturn for allowing us to get to that base where it's now you've got the knowledge, now it's the time for action, and then created the business and the strategy. So those decisions were made at those very early stages, and it was a decision that we had to say, okay, we are spending 50, 60,000 rands, and we're going to uplift ourselves in terms of the courses, which, and of course, paid for itself many times over since that decision, since we've studied those courses. So when the strategy was already made, it's a matter of sticking to the strategy. And the strategy for this particular project was that we were going to build 2 units. Because it was a June entrance, it was a large plot of land. So we had that vision, we had the strategy. It was just to follow through on that. And for us, it wasn't a difficult decision to have had, because we found success in the initial part.
How did you fund the 1.5, if you don't mind me asking?
So the 1.5 was self-funded, as well as funded from partly from our other previous property. We extracted the bond from that. And when I say self-funded, part of it was from the initial profits of the business, and we then had to try and put more capital into it. So we've got equity in the business, we've got cash flow that's healthy.
That sounds good, Paresh.
Sounds good.
I think we're out of time, unless there's any last minute questions from you guys.
No, from me.
You sure? Paresh, that's awesome. So next steps are, I'm going to touch base with the judges this afternoon to see if you do move forward to the second round, which I'm sure you will. So well done on taking action. Thank you to the judges, Bevan from Saturn Prepayment Meters, helping our investors managing those electricity and water meters. And Serena, thank you from TAP. And we'll get Zika next time from Omstandi. And Bruno from BSA and Intergen, thank you. And thank you to Absa Bank Home Loans for allowing us to use their offices here in Umschlang. We've got a few people waiting outside. So Paresh, wasn't that scary to enter? Because people are scared to enter.
No, I don't think it was scary to enter at all. It was quite an easy process.
Yeah, it's easy, isn't it?
I actually thought there would be a lot of admin and filling in forms and all that, but it was really
Simple process.
very
So what's your advice to other people that want to
Oh,
enter?
please come forward. The more we learn from each other, the greater our knowledge will be, and it's just a huge positives all around.
Absolutely. So there we are, ladies and gents. We are done for the day, Friday today. Have an awesome afternoon and a good weekend. And if you haven't done the deal, but you know of someone that has done the deal, please go to investoroftheyear.co.za and nominate an investor for IOTY. And we'll see you on the 15th of September, 2024. Thank you.